There is a moment almost everyone has lived through. You check your phone one more time than you should. You replay a conversation that already ended. You notice yourself waiting for a reaction from someone who has not thought about you in hours. You tell yourself you are fine, but some part of your day is still being run by another person. Not because they are doing anything to you right now, but because you have not learned how to let go of the wire connecting your mood to their behavior. Most people think detachment means not caring. They think it means becoming cold, distant, shutting down, or pretending someone never mattered. That is not what the old Stoics meant when they talked about freedom from another person's grip on your inner life. Real detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the absence of dependency. It means you can care about someone and still refuse to let their mood, their silence, or their opinion decide how your day goes. That distinction changes everything, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to build it, one principle at a time. Welcome back to Stoic Forge Explained, where ancient Stoic wisdom meets the challenges of modern life. Today we are going to walk through 6 rules, drawn from the core of Stoic thought, that show you how to actually disconnect your peace of mind from someone else's behavior, not through anger, not through revenge, not through pretending you feel nothing, but through a kind of quiet, deliberate control that most people never learn because nobody ever taught them how attachment actually works in the mind. We will start with the smallest shift, something you can apply today, and we will build from there, layer by layer, until the final principle, which is the one that actually changes how you see yourself. Let's begin. The first rule is this: notice the moment before the reaction, not after. Most people try to control themselves after they have already reacted. They send the angry text, then regret it. They check the messages one more time, then feel worse. They already gave their attention away before they realized they had a choice. The truth is, by the time you feel the pull to check on someone, respond to someone, or explain yourself to someone, the decision has almost already been made. Your nervous system moved faster than your thinking did. This happens because human attention is wired for threat detection, not peace. For most of human history, uncertainty about another person's intentions could mean danger. If someone in your tribe seemed upset with you, your brain treated it as a survival question, not an emotional inconvenience. That wiring did not disappear just because today's version of the threat is a friend who left you unread. Think about the last time someone you cared about went quiet on you. Maybe it was a partner after an argument. Maybe it was a friend who stopped replying the way they used to. Your mind did not calmly wait for information. It searched. It replayed. It tried to predict. That search is not weakness. It is an old survival system firing in a modern situation it was never built for. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. The silence itself is neutral. It is the story your mind builds around the silence that creates the suffering. Here's what this means for you today. You cannot stop the first flicker of reaction. You are not built to. But you can create a pause between the flicker and the action. The moment you feel the urge to check, to text, to explain, to prove something, that urge is information, not instruction. It is telling you something is unresolved inside you. It is not telling you what to do next. A simple practice here is to name the urge out loud, even quietly to yourself, not the person, the urge. Say, this is the urge to check. This is the urge to explain. That one sentence puts distance between you and the impulse, and distance is where choice lives. Awareness like this does not feel powerful in the moment. It feels almost too simple. But it is the foundation everything else in this video depends on, because you cannot control what you never notice. Once you can see the reaction coming, the next challenge is deciding what you actually do with it. And that brings us to something much harder than noticing your own mind. It is learning to control what other people are allowed to see. The second rule is this: withhold your reaction, especially from people who are testing for one. Somewhere in modern relationships, honesty got confused with unfiltered emotional broadcasting. People believe that expressing every reaction instantly is a form of authenticity. In reality, it often hands your emotional state directly to whoever caused it. Picture someone at work who makes a comment clearly designed to get under your skin, maybe about your work, your choices, or your relationship. If your face changes instantly, if your voice rises, if you defend yourself immediately, you have just confirmed that they have access to your emotional controls. You told them, without saying it, that they can do that again and get the same result. This is not about suppressing emotion until it explodes later. It is about recognizing that your reaction is valuable information, and information should not be handed out for free to people who are not entitled to it. Seneca wrote extensively about the danger of letting external events dictate your internal state, arguing that peace of mind comes from governing your own responses rather than depending on the world to behave the way you want. The specific wording varies across translations, but the underlying idea is consistent throughout his letters. Your calm is not something other people give you. It is something you protect. Consider a common modern scenario. Someone you used to date posts something clearly meant to provoke a reaction, a new relationship announcement timed suspiciously well, a subtle jab disguised as a joke. The immediate impulse is to respond, to match the energy, to show them it did not work. But the moment you respond with visible emotion, you have shown them exactly what still has power over you. Withholding a reaction is not about pretending nothing happened. It is about choosing when, how, and if you respond, rather than being pulled into an automatic performance. A useful mental rule here is simple. Before you respond to anyone who seems to be testing you, ask yourself one question: am I responding because this deserves a response, or because I feel pressure to prove something? That single question filters out most emotionally reactive behavior before it happens. But withholding a reaction toward others is only the first layer of control. The deeper work is withholding it from yourself, especially when the person you are trying to detach from is no longer even in the room. The third rule is this: stop rehearsing conversations that already ended. This is one of the most common and least discussed habits of emotional attachment. You are lying in bed, and suddenly, you are back in an argument that happened 3 days ago. Except this time, you say the perfect comeback. Or you are driving, and you are mentally explaining yourself to someone who is not there, defending a decision nobody actually challenged out loud. This happens because the mind treats unresolved social situations as unfinished business, the same way it treats an unfinished task. Psychologists have long observed that incomplete experiences tend to occupy more mental space than completed ones. Your brain is not trying to torture you. It is trying to resolve something it perceives as open. The problem is that most of these rehearsed conversations serve no purpose except reinforcing your attachment to the outcome. Every time you replay it, you are not preparing for anything. You are training your mind to keep caring about a version of events that has already passed. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, in his private writings, that a person's power is limited to the present moment, and that dwelling on the past or the future robs that person of the only time they actually have control over. He was not writing this as public philosophy. He was writing it to himself, as a discipline, because even an emperor struggled with this exact habit. Think about someone who left a job after a difficult falling out with a manager. Months later, they are still composing the resignation speech they never gave, imagining the manager finally understanding how wrong they were. That fantasy resolution never comes because the other person is not obligated to give it, and often is not even thinking about it anymore. The practical rule here is direct. When you notice yourself mentally rehearsing a conversation that already happened, or one that has not been invited, interrupt it with a single sentence: "This conversation is closed." Then redirect your attention to something physically present: your hands, your breath, the room you are actually in. This will not work perfectly the first time. It is a discipline, not a switch. But every time you interrupt the rehearsal, you weaken its grip a little more. Once you stop replaying the past, you free up enough mental space to notice something most people never examine directly, which is how much of their identity has quietly become tied to another person's approval. The fourth rule is this: separate your self-worth from their opinion of you. This is where detachment stops being a technique and starts becoming a real internal shift. Many people believe their self-worth is stable until someone important suddenly withdraws approval and they realize how much of their confidence was actually borrowed. A person can feel completely secure until a partner goes cold, or a parent expresses disappointment, or a mentor stops responding the way they used to. Suddenly, their entire sense of self feels unstable, not because anything factually changed about them, but because their internal evaluation system was outsourced. This happens because humans evolved as social creatures whose survival once depended on group approval. Being rejected by the group was not just uncomfortable, it was genuinely dangerous. That ancient wiring still activates today, even when the stakes are nothing more than a friend's tone in a text message. Epictetus made a sharp distinction between what is within our control and what is not. Our own judgments, choices, and character are ours. Other people's opinions, moods, and decisions are not. He argued that confusing the two is the root of most unnecessary suffering. Consider someone who spent months trying to win back the approval of a friend who slowly drifted away. Every interaction became an audition. Every message was reread for tone. Their sense of being a good friend depended entirely on this one person's warmth toward them. When the friendship eventually faded regardless, the pain was not just about losing the friend. It was about losing the version of themselves that depended on that friend's approval to feel okay. Separating your worth from someone's opinion does not mean becoming indifferent to how you treat people. It means recognizing that their opinion of you is their judgment to hold, formed through their own history, insecurities, and perspective, and it is not a verdict on your value. A practical way to build this is to keep a private, honest account of your own standards, not to impress anyone, but to check yourself against, did I act with honesty today? Did I keep my word? Did I treat people fairly? When your internal evaluation is based on these questions instead of on someone else's mood, their approval becomes something you can appreciate without needing. This is the point where detachment stops being reactive and starts becoming structural. But structure needs boundaries to hold it in place, which brings us to the next layer. The fifth rule is this: build boundaries before you need them, not during the crisis. Most people only think about boundaries in the middle of conflict, which is the worst possible time to build one. Boundaries created in anger tend to be either too harsh or abandoned within a week, because they were never actually decided. They were reacted. A real boundary is not a punishment. It is a pre-decided rule about what you will and will not accept, made when you are calm enough to think clearly so that in the moment of pressure, you are not negotiating with your own emotions in real time. Think about someone whose partner has a pattern of going silent for days after disagreements. Every time it happens, the other person spirals, apologizes excessively, tries everything to restore contact, even when they were not entirely at fault. Without a boundary, each silent period becomes a fresh negotiation decided emotionally in the middle of anxiety. With a boundary decided in advance, the response changes. The person might decide calmly, ahead of time, that they will allow space for a reasonable period, but after that, they will address the pattern directly rather than chasing reassurance. The boundary is not built during the silence. It is built beforehand so the silence does not control the response. Musonius Rufus, one of the lesser-known but influential Stoic teachers, emphasized that philosophy is only useful if it is practiced through disciplined daily behavior, not simply understood intellectually. A boundary you have only thought about is not a boundary. It is an idea. A boundary becomes real the moment you hold it under pressure. The modern interpretation here is direct. If you know a certain type of behavior repeatedly disrupts your peace, whether that is inconsistent communication, disrespect disguised as jokes, or last-minute emotional demands, decide in a calm moment exactly how you will respond next time it happens. Write it down if that helps, not as a threat to deliver to them, but as a private commitment to yourself. Boundaries built this way stop being about controlling the other person. They become about controlling your own participation in patterns that were quietly draining you. With boundaries in place, something interesting starts to happen. You start noticing how much of your emotional world was built around needing someone to behave a certain way. And that observation leads directly into the deepest principle of all. The sixth and final rule is this: redefine what actually belongs to you. This is the principle everything else in this video has been building toward. Most emotional attachment, the unhealthy kind, is rooted in a quiet confusion between what belongs to you and what does not. Someone's love, attention, mood, and presence never fully belonged to you in the first place. They were given moment to moment by choice. When that giving changes or stops, it can feel like something was stolen. In reality, nothing that was ever truly yours has been taken. What actually belongs to you is different. Your effort, your integrity, your reactions, your choices about how to treat people, even people who no longer treat you the way you deserve. These things cannot be taken by anyone, no matter how they behave. This is the core of Epictetus's teaching, distilled into its simplest form. Some things are up to us, others are not. Peace comes from focusing entirely on the first category and releasing your grip on the second. Think about someone who spent years defining their happiness around a relationship they could not control the outcome of, constantly trying to manage the other person's feelings, constantly adjusting themselves to keep the connection stable. When it ended anyway, despite everything they did, the devastation was not just about the loss. It was about realizing they had built their entire sense of security on something that was never fully in their hands to begin with. The shift happens when you stop asking, "How do I get them to feel a certain way about me?" and start asking, "Am I acting the way I actually want to act, regardless of how they respond?" That question cannot be taken from you by anyone's silence, rejection, or change of heart. This does not mean becoming isolated or emotionally unavailable. It means loving, working, and connecting with people fully, while keeping your sense of self anchored somewhere they cannot reach. You can care deeply about someone and still know clearly that your peace does not live inside their behavior. At the beginning of this video, you were reacting before you even noticed you had a choice. By now, you understand that the reaction itself is not the enemy. The lack of a pause is. At the beginning, your sense of worth may have quietly depended on someone else's approval, without you fully realizing it. Now you know how to trace that dependency and hand the evaluation back to yourself where it belongs. You were, in a sense, outsourcing your peace. Piece by piece, principle by principle, you are learning to take it back, not through coldness, but through clarity about what was always yours to control in the first place. That is what real detachment looks like. Not the absence of feeling, the presence of choice. If this changed the way you look at your own reactions, do not just agree with it and move on. Practice it the next time someone tests you. And if you are willing, tell us in the comments, what is one thing you are going to stop reacting to?